All right, before we begin today, I have a few quick announcements. If you have a joy, a gratitude, a sorrow, or a concern, you can still have time to fill out a form and bring it forward, and we'll share those later. We have some training coming up today after church. We're going to train some folks who might be interested in helping out with childcare occasionally, so you are welcome to join us if you'd like to do that. And next Sunday after church, we're going to have training for what Mary is about to do, which is be a lay leader up here. You know you want to feel the fabulousness of this space in your life, so come be a lay leader. That's next Sunday, and lunch is even provided for that. Spoon, who's at the back, is encouraging folks to come read The Crucible with him. They're going to do a live readers theater performance of The Crucible in November, so please see him if you would like to join that group. We are also looking for help with our anniversary celebrations in November. We need a team of people to pull that off with festive decorations and food and remembrances, so please let me know if you'd like to help out with that effort. Some of you may be aware that Reverend Jamie and family were in Orlando, Florida this past week for their vacation. And I just wanted to let you know they are back home and doing well, and it is a trip that Ian will never forget. Their son's name is Ian, so he had lots of signs telling him to go away while they were there. And lastly, should you start to feel unwell after being with us and test positive, please let our board president know so that we can let others know. We're still doing that contact tracing. All right, let us now begin.
Good morning and welcome to San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whether you are here in the sanctuary or watching at home, I think it's loud enough, welcome, and we are glad that you are here. My name is Mary Abbey, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. My husband and I first joined the Unitarian Universalist Church actually it was the Universalist Unitarian Church in Peoria, Illinois in about 1978. Dave would pass the church going back and forth to work every day, and finally he was curious enough and said, I think we ought to go. So we tried, and we really liked it, and we were members before too long. So over the years, we tried out different churches. Sometimes we felt welcome and were regular attenders, and sometimes not. Most recently, we were in Phoenix at the UUCP, which is the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix, and Reverend Susan Frederick Gray was our minister. And if you're not familiar with that name, she is now the president of the UUA. Our first Sunday here in San Gabriel was the third Sunday that the congregation was in this building. And dating myself, in 2013, we felt very welcome and gladly signed the membership book. We didn't have to think about it. I quickly learned that to feel included and to get to know people, I needed to join a connection group and start volunteering. And after that, I was Sunday Services Chair for 2 years, and then President for 2 years, and then mostly past President for another 2 years on the board. San Gabriel is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. If you would like to know more about us and learn about upcoming events, please go to our website and sign up for our newsletter. Please know that whoever you are, wherever you are from, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, whatever your gender identity or immigration status, you are welcome here. Now, let us greet this day in song. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us. The music is in the gray hymnal, and lyrics will be projected on the back wall. Well, we didn't have the words on the wall, but you all had a good voice, a nice song to start us out with. It is now time to light the chalice, the symbol of our faith, with the words of our own Reverend Jamie. Excuse me. I'm not used to talking this much. Dave always talks so much at home. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith, for the promise of a new day, for the renewal of belonging, for the connection between and beyond, all that is, all that was, and all that is yet to come. May our many sparks meet and merge in communion of heart and soul to greet this day.
How are we feeling this morning? I call you now into a time of a sacred space that we create together with these words from UU minister Kimberly Carlson. It is not by chance that you arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you, there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring. Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to all of us when we share. And so, you began seeking a beloved community, a people that does not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home and welcome to worship.
Our affirmation is an expression of our covenant with one another. Please read after me. The words will be projected.
Let's do this together, you and I, and I'll read the second part.
Okay. The doctrine of this church is love.
We are here to love.
The quest of truth is its sacrament.
We are here to learn.
Service is its prayer.
We are here to care for others.
To dwell together in peace.
We are here to live in peace.
To seek knowledge in freedom.
We are here to honor our differences.
To serve humanity in fellowship.
We are all connected in spirit.
To the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine.
We are here to grow.
Thus do we covenant with one another.
This we promise to do together.
And now it is time for our Wonder Box. Do we have Victor here?
Yes.
Aha, come on up. I wonder what we have in the Wonder Box today. Here you go.
You got it.
Over here.
Hi, let's help each other learn and grow. What do you think is inside the Wonder Box?
A deck of cards. You say it back.
Oh, a deck of cards, a book,
Somebody's wallet.
a Halloween pumpkin.
That'd be very on theme. You want me to open it?
Yeah. It's bubbles.
Oh, let's see if we can blow some up.
How do we do that?
Yeah, I've got some too. Here, I'll try to take that one. See if we can make this happen.
Oh.
There's a few. Yay. Oh yeah, there we go. You want to do some more? Yes.
Maybe. Okay. What do you think when you see these bubbles?
Floating, small. What else did you
Fragile. Iridescent.
Yeah. Oh, the song. Lawrence Welk.
Bubbles move about on the air, floating gently. Let's see what our story tells us about moving from one place to the next.
So I do have the book with me if the video won't play. Gives-
Like a Dandelion by Wee Von Lee, published by HarperCollins. Like a Dandelion is a poetic tribute to the bravery of immigrants and refugees, inspired by the author's childhood experience of moving to the United States from Cambodia. I dedicate this book to my parents and siblings with whom I shared this journey, to the immigrants who came before us, and to the American people who opened their hearts in welcoming us. They are the people who truly make America beautiful. Like feathery seeds, we take flight, finding a new home, even in the tiniest space. We put down roots in unfamiliar soil, and nourish ourselves through the winter slumber. Like a dandelion, at first I am shy. But I raise my face to the sun and the rain. In springtime, clouds blow over and blood buds blossom. We make golden garlands in a field of 100 suns. Bees come for the nectar, bunnies come for the flowers. In autumn, winds whisk in, scattering new seeds around us. Like a dandelion, I am strong and giving, planted happily in soil that I now call home. Dandelions are flowering plants indigenous to Eurasia. They have been cultivated for food and as an herb since ancient times, and the Chinese have used them for medicine for over 1,000 years. Some people think dandelions were brought over to North America on the Mayflower for their health benefits. Now, many people consider them pesky weeds that invade their lawns, although others have rediscovered the usefulness of the dandelion. And here's a picture of the author at age 5 with her brother and her sister and some other children at a Cambodian refugee camp in Thailand before their eventual immigration to the US in 1975. The end.
Sorry. Some people don't like dandelions and think of them as invasive, and others don't mind them in their gardens. It could be that people who don't like them are used to plants they know or have planted themselves. But folks who welcome dandelions might appreciate new additions and diversity. People who don't like them probably have been taught not to, while those who do enjoy them have maybe had good experiences with them. Sometimes it can be hard to teach people new ways of accepting. As you use, we can model for others in a positive way that each person is important and that we are all connected.
So if you would like to work with your hands, we have some special dandelion crafts at the back of the room, along with all of our other crafting items. Children can be back there with Mr. Spoon or take items back to your seats. Ironically, we were prepared even though we had no warning. So I'll say that again. Ironically, we were prepared even though we had no warning. And so said the Reverend Janet Newton, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Society of Martha's Vineyard. As she said in a religious news service article, Martha's Vineyard is often seen as a playground for the rich and powerful, but that's not the whole story. In the off-season, many people struggle. Affordable housing is hard to come by, and at times, folks who work seasonal jobs can't make ends meet. As a geographically isolated community, Newton said, year-round residents have learned to take care of each other. That's probably a bit of a surprise to the people who sent the planes here, she said. They didn't understand how our community operated or that we could be prepared for this. Hospitality matters here. Newton said clergy on the island and other community services had learned to work closely to solve long-term and short-term crises. I think most of us know about the event I am describing here. Approximately 50 migrants from Venezuela who were seeking asylum in the United States, as they are legally allowed to do, were flown from Texas to Massachusetts with promises of jobs and housing and much more. That was all a lie. They were lied to. These folks had already been released by Homeland Security and were permitted to remain in the U.S. pending their immigration proceedings. And now that they are far from their point of entry, for many of them, the immigration process will be even more difficult. Several are now suing Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who took credit for the deed. This was just one example of an ongoing effort to relocate migrants. For the past several months, over 10,000 people have been bused from Texas to northern cities like New York or Chicago or DC. We know that these moves are simply political stunts to try to make some kind of point that these people shouldn't be here, which continues to be the narrative that migration is criminal, that attending to their needs is too burdensome, and that Texas, along with other states on our southern border, is simply not going to help them. So go try your luck in some other state that thinks, unlike us, that your presence is okay. It is the height of cruelty and callousness to treat other human beings in this way, as pawns in a political game, rather than as actual people who have, as we know, inherent worth and dignity. As I regularly mention here on Sundays, we UUs have wandering minds, and my mind, upon hearing this story, immediately wondered why. Why does this cruelty seem to be, to those who engage in it, the correct course of action to be taken right now? What is the benefit of doing this? And some have said, oh, well, it's a deliberate distraction away perhaps even from the fact that the repeal of abortion rights is overwhelmingly unpopular right now. So let's find something else to lead on, that we are doing something about these unwanted immigrants, just as we are spending billions on walls, etc., etc. But then that just leads to another question of why are immigrants unwanted, and why do so many in our country fear them? We certainly have a long, conflicted history of vilifying immigrants in this country, along with a history of colonialism, racism, capitalism, patriarchy, and all the other systems of oppression that uphold white supremacy. The history of American immigration policy has been one of racial exclusion that both reflects and maintains those systems. But this fear of other and the willingness to other people, where does that come from? So it's like you have one question and it just brings up another question. Because I think that that is at the root of what we are talking about, that among many of us, or perhaps all of us, there is an impulse to identify with a particular in-group, and everyone outside of that group is other. And when different or other is then defined as wrong or bad, that impulse can then be manipulated and stoked into a hatred based in fear, which can lead to the attitudes and norms and systems that I just mentioned. But where does that fear find a foothold? For me, my sense is that it resides in scarcity thinking. And I say scarcity thinking because I don't think actual scarcity of resources is necessary for this fear. Just the idea that you may not have your needs met in the future, even if you are doing well enough now, is enough to make one fearful. And then we have the whole manipulations around, well, what is enough and the blurring of wants versus needs. It's hard to even grasp what is clear about that. But if powerful and influential people can attach the blame of a scarcity or even the threat of a potential future scarcity to a people, to a group of people who are in some way different from us, then we transfer those fears to that outsider group. And we can then see how these fears, this racism, is then fomented and perpetuated through our immigration policies. So let's pause for a minute because that's really tough. That is hard. Let's take a moment to remind ourselves of the power of being in each other's presence when we hear or reflect on hard things, and that the strength that comes from belonging to one another is what keeps us going in our hopes for this world. That's it for now. So deep breaths. For the joys shared, we join together in celebration. And for the sorrows and concerns, we feel empathy and compassion. For all that remains unspoken, may the caring of this community offer a space of deep kindness and care. I invite you now to join me in our Buddhist metta meditation that I've practiced so much with our children. We start with ourselves. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be filled with love. Think of someone you love. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you be filled with love. Think of someone you've had trouble with or someone you are concerned about. May they be happy. May they be healthy. And may they be filled with love. And then, of course, we wish this for the world. May we be happy. May we be healthy. And may we be filled with love.
Let us sing together again. Please rise in body or spirit. The words for our hymn number 134, Our World. Excuse me. Our world is one world. The music is in the gray hymnal. And the lyrics are projected.
During last week's service, we heard the joke about the UU who tells their friend that they are you're a UU at heart as well, and you should come to church with me. And the friend says, "Oh, I'm not much of a joiner." And the UU replies, "See, that proves it." Many of us found this faith after finding dissatisfaction with a faith of origin, or worse, a trauma. Being rejected from a group can make one suspicious of all groups. And as I wonder about groups, again with the wondering, I wonder about nations and nationhood and identifying with a particular national identity or group. Several things come to bear in this wondering. I was a history major and learned early about the messiness and illogic of how nations were created and how arbitrarily borders are drawn. Over time, who claimed what and how, who was killed and how history was written by the victors. I was also a philosophy major, but that's another time. And interestingly, my mother's first visit to the United States was in 1965 to participate in an international meeting of the World Federalist Movement, whose goal was to strengthen the United Nations as a world government. So I guess I have always been somewhat suspect of nationalism. I get that by my heritage, and in many ways that fits with being a UU. And yet I am here serving an intentional community, setting up shop, so to speak, and defining some borders. We may be suspicious of groups, yet we walked in the door. So how do those two attitudes, wanting to create community, be part of a community, yet not be exclusionary, coexist? Theologically, UUs are challenged to build a very big tent, and that means we want to create a community that welcomes all, but not necessarily all behaviors, and contrary to what you may have heard, all beliefs. Our core values of love and respect don't allow for hatred and intolerance. We hold each other accountable for our behaviors through a practice of covenant. Promises that we make to one another will likely break, forgive, and repair, and renew those promises once again. And the word practice here is really important. This being together is something we practice and need to practice. The world is an incredibly complex place, and the formation of in-groups, whether through familial ties and kinship, or a drawing of borders and boundaries, or choice, is a response to that complexity, an attempt to make the complex easier to manage. Populism, nationalism, fascism all seem to find greater appeal when the challenges of a complex world cause many to look for simple answers that ultimately separate us from one another and allow some to deny others our common humanity. We are all susceptible to these shortcuts. And then there are evil actors who look to exploit and amplify these impulses to their own ends. When we think of our mission here at San Gabriel, this bold vision to build beloved community, how do we respond or counteract these impulses that at many times seem overwhelming, especially in Texas? I think there are multiple ways we can do this. We model as a community among ourselves the relationships we wish to see in the larger world. So when we are confused and don't understand something, rather than simplify the situation, we adopt a posture of curiosity and a willingness to learn more. This is in direct opposition to the impulse to want things to be easy. Things might actually get more complex and even difficult as we educate ourselves and our vision is broadened, not narrowed, as we listen to one another. We support one another in confronting injustice in our larger community, that the work of building relationships we build here then strengthen and embolden us to do the work in the wider world, and that we become known for this work by building relationships and partnerships with care. We offer, and I say hello to all our Yellow Shirt Brigade people, we offer opportunities for others to know who we are and what we are about. And that we offer each other friendship, compassion, and joy as sustenance for this journey. That none of what we do here is possible without deep caring and compassion. So we're going to pause here for just a second. I sprung this on Mary kind of at the last minute, but we have an opportunity to use some of this energy right now. There's a petition that I'm passing around. There's 4 copies of it, so there should be enough for the front and the back of the room that you are invited to sign. It is a letter to Senator Cornyn, who sits on the Judiciary Committee, asking for his support in passage of the Afghan Adjustment Act and create permanent residency for Afghanis seeking asylum with us since our military withdrawal. So this is a way to stabilize their ability to stay in the U.S., and many of these folks were our helpers in Afghan as translators and in many other ways when we were in Afghanistan. And we have a large number of them in Texas, which is why it's also important that we speak out on this. So I'll give you a moment to sign that, if you would like to.
I have heard from a friend who's looking to help people. They have permission to be here for 1 year only.
Yeah, Mary just lets me know that they have permission to be here for 1 year right now, and that time is probably very close to its end. And there was an attempt to get this put in a package that's the continue the government budget package, to try and put this in with that, and that's what this letter is about. In our story today, migrants were akin to dandelions, flowers that scatter seeds far and wide, that grow in the smallest of places. Some would label a dandelion a weed, a plant we don't like. But our world is not a monoculture, and the migrating animals, birds, and yes, plants, don't recognize the borders humans have created. What are the lessons our natural world is trying to teach us? What richness and diversity awaits us? How do we support each other so we can embrace complexity rather than give in to the impulse to simplify and center ourselves, center our own wants and needs? In the powerful words of poet Warsan Shire, no one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. Let's have our practices in building relationship and community be the tilling of a soil that creates fertile ground for justice, so that seeds can find a home. And let us, like our sibling congregation in Martha's Vineyard, be prepared without warning. That is my hope, that we be prepared without warning.
We take an offering each week to sustain this space that we call home and to support the work of our fellowship. We're very grateful to have Bill Hornbuckle and John Walker sing for us this morning. As you notice, they've helped us with our hymns. They are bringing us the beautiful hymn, Be Thou My Vision. The offering will now be gratefully received, and we thank you.
I wanted to make sure to include that it is an old Irish tune, correct? The words are set to an Irish tune and are reminiscent of a phrase from our covenant to serve humanity in fellowship to the ends that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Many thanks again to Mary on the chancel with me, and for Victor to come share his reflections on the story, and for Molly accompanying us, and again to John and Bill for their lovely singing, to our tech team fighting the good fight to try and make it happen, and our folks who helped with hospitality, our lovely snacks that we will get to enjoy in a minute. So thank you all. It truly takes all of us on a Sunday morning. I'll repeat again some of the announcements. We have a training immediately after church today if you'd like to learn how to help out with childcare. And we also have another training next Sunday with lunch for being up here and doing the lovely, amazing lay leader work. We are looking for helpers for our anniversary celebration next month. And Spoon in the back is looking for folks to participate in a Reader's Theater production of The Crucible. We close our sacred time together when we extinguish our chalice. I again share with you words from our own Reverend Jamie Andel. We extinguish this flame, but not the chalice inside of our hearts, which serves as a beacon of hope. Emboldened by its blaze, we are reminded that our strength as prophetic and powerful people is found when we come together at San Gabriel, which is here in Georgetown to stay, no matter what may come our way. Amen and blessed be. I've got more bubbles. And I'm hoping we can still have our song. But we'll try. You ready, Mary?